Hey reactions, we're going to be talking about the secret of all failure, comfort, with Luis, Ahmawan, and Carlos.
What do you think of comfort? So the reason why we're doing this topic, why, is because a lot of people usually find themselves hindered or not doing things because not necessarily they're in a bad place, but because they're just in a place where they're not moving forward. And so usually when they have that combination, that's just because they're too comfortable, right? So what do you guys think about comfort in, let's say, the business world? What do you think?
I think that being a salesman, I think it's one of the silent killers of all sales. I think that comfort, like it's kind of worse than fear, because like you'll get past fear, like yeah, oh my god, I did it, and then comfort, you're just like I'm all that and I can't lose, and your pride will come up and like I'm all that and you're really not, and it makes you think that you're bigger than what you really are.
What do you think?
Well, I could give examples about school. I definitely think when you step outside your comfort zone, you grow. So, for instance, when I first came into college, I didn't know a single person, and I could have just sat there comfortably and not interacted with anybody. But I decided to step outside my comfort zone, engage with lots of people, and that really helped me grow. I learned how much you learn from others, and having all these connections really help. And one thing I'm doing this semester is I'm going to be teaching a class, and that's something I never would have thought I would have done in high school. But just being confident and being like saying to myself, I could do this, and I shouldn't just sit there and do nothing, like really push me to do that.
That's pretty nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. If you were to think of, let's say, this generation, I guess our parents, just whoever was, let's say, the first ones to come to this country or whatnot, that they tried so hard to make sure that we're really just stable, right? That we have stability, that we're taken care of and such, and usually we were babied or really taken care of throughout growing up or whatnot, and even as adults, plenty of us actually have just parents just, oh, here you go, here's automatically having, whatever you need in the back pocket. And a lot of people are figuring out that that's not great, because you lose that kind of survival instinct, right? So the ability to kind of do things for yourself, and that's a really big deal. And so that's things that I've dealt with before, and essentially it's better to know how to fix your problems yourself,
Because it teaches you, one of the worst parts about comfortability is it teaches you that life is a handout, and it doesn't really work that way, like at all. I'm coming from the same background of your parents giving you everything, making sure you're comfortable, especially from a financial standpoint. I would even say poverty is worse than comfort, because even to that extreme, because poverty, you have to do something. When you're comfortable, it's like, I'll go work at McDonald's, or I'll go have a regular job, and you'll be that way for the rest of your life. And it falls in every aspect. The worst part about comfort is that it's not like one discipline or one area. It falls into every area of your life, and it becomes a pattern. And it teaches you, like, you don't have to work for much, you don't have to strive for much, and that's kind of why most people like fail, because they're comfortable. Like, they don't have to do nothing because they were given a handout. That's kind of why they say immigrants are twice as likely to become millionaires, because they don't have nothing. They don't have no comfort. It's like, I don't know this country, and it's this or die.
Yeah, they just keep striving.
Yeah,
right.
You have something pushing them to make them keep going.
So I'm not going back to my country. It's not happening.
Yeah. There's a story of where I forget who actually mentioned it, that there was this lion where, I believe it was a lion or a dog, where they would be this person who owned, let's say, a dog, where there's this neighbor that came by and said that, oh, this dog is always like yelling, it's like moaning and groaning all the time, it's just yelling out, you can hear it in the distance. Why is your dog always moaning like that? And the owner is saying, oh, just because has a nail in his paw. And then the neighbor is like, why doesn't he take it out? It's like, well, what's the dog's problem? Like, he'll just get rid of it on his own. And then the owner says that, well, the dog is always doesn't hurt all the time. It only hurts sometimes. So it hurts enough to, like, let's say, complain about it, to moan about it, but it doesn't hurt enough to, like, just take it out. That's pretty crazy. I've always remembered that story, because that's really what comfort really is. People always complain about their situation or whatever's going on, and then, to a certain extent. But if they're comfortable to a certain extent also, then that means they don't really put enough action to do something about it. And so that's really tough. Like I said, I've gone through that too. I think everybody kind of growing up in an environment that's not super harsh kind of does that. And then you start wondering like why you don't feel complete or why you don't feel like, let's say, you've accomplished that much. You know, maybe part of it is because you're not comfortable enough. Because really, when you're uncomfortable, then you start really kicking in that survival instinct. Then you start realizing like, okay, maybe I need to do something to make something happen. That's kind of common sense, but you don't usually feel that way unless you feel like there's a need for it, right? Unless you're uncomfortable. So, yeah, comfort is the enemy. Well,
and sometimes the scariest part about comfort is it comes with the truth of saying that's actually really where you want to be. And like when you say, like, for instance, like when I moved out for the first time, it kicked in a survival instinct that I've never used before. Not that I didn't have, but it only shows up when I snap or when I get really upset. So when it came in, when I moved out, I asked myself a question I've never asked myself before. Yo, what did I do today? Like, I didn't do nothing today. Like, I didn't ask that at my parents' house. When I was at my parents' house, I was like, whatever, I didn't do nothing today. When I went outside, like, for the first month, for like 1 month, I was like, damn, I didn't do nothing today. And that's not good, because every day counts to when that rent is due. So,
yeah.
You at your parents' house, you don't have to, come up with rent, or most of us don't. Yeah, the word, I think, sometimes the worst part about it, especially when you're growing up in your youth, is parents really don't understand that. Like, your comfort is where you're gonna die at. Like, it's like, I have a handout, I don't have to work for nothing, and, when you compare, even for my personal life, when I compare me to my brothers, my survival instinct is a little bit different because I won't ask for help. And it's not because of pride, it's because if you constantly keep asking for help, you'll never figure out a way on how to do it. And that's not how the real world works. And I can give you no handout, I can give you no money, and like every blue moon when the universe feels like favoring you, they'll like give you some money or something like that or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, it just doesn't happen. That's why people say, why there's a rich and a poor gap. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the system. I just think the work ethic is different. The mindset is different. The thoughts are different. The feelings are different. And more importantly, you don't have a handout. Because I meet a lot of young people who are the first timers or virgins. And I would say what that means, like, let's say they're the first timers I'm a first timer going to become a millionaire in my family. So nobody's gonna make the money I'm gonna make. Nobody can ask me nobody can really give me advice per se about, hey, I wanna do X, Y, and Z. And your comfort zone would tell you, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. It's partially why you gotta keep your dreams to yourself, but that's the topic for another video. But your comfort, sometimes your comfort has to really be disqualified in a sense of like disqualifying your parents, disqualifying your elders, because when you want to go somewhere, especially when I would say you're on a hero journey, when you want to start accomplishing things on your own, you can't really ask for guidance because you don't know.
I think if you want to do anything, then you have to be able to kind of get rid of your comfort. It's really simple. Like, you actually learn it at a very young age. Let's say if you're trying to do some kind of sport, you're just not good at it, so you need to be uncomfortable. You just need to practice to get good at it. When you go to the gym for the first time, either if you're an adult or if you're, let's say a younger person, essentially things hurt when you go to the gym that didn't hurt the day before until you work out. It's very silly, but everybody kind of knows that notion that you're supposed to feel pain so that you can get used to it and know what to do about it. And that's really it. So take our office, for example, our company, right? So, my company. So what we do, right, in terms of sales and marketing, is we get people outside their comfort zone all the time. So it's being able to do public speaking and dealing with different kind of customers, dealing with younger people and older people, dealing with different kind of scenarios, dealing with different kind of ethnicities, dealing with how to approach a different situation in different kind of ways. And I forgot the statistic, that still like most people are afraid of public speaking more than death itself, right? Do you know the exact statistic?
Probably 80%.
Like 80%. High number. So a high number, right? And essentially that's what we teach, but that's because a lot of people are not willing to learn that, but that's why it's of high value, right? Because a lot of people find it as uncomfortable, and that's what we do on a daily basis, and that's what we train on, and that's what we provide for our clients, right? So the ability to do sales and talk to anybody.
Yeah, and stepping outside your comfort is for a lot of people, speaking in front of others, like a lot of people have that fear, but once you try it and you practice it enough, yeah, I know it feels uncomfortable at first. With enough practice, you start getting more comfortable, but don't always stay too comfortable. Just keep pushing yourself so you could increase your audience. You could discuss bigger matters. So that's a good way to step outside your comfort zone and also start learning more.
How do you think you became better at public speaking?
Yeah, just putting myself out there more and more, I just started to feel better and just learn more at the same time. I'd say just practicing.
Yeah, you got the more you do something, the better you get at it. That's really it.
Yeah, at the end of the day, comfort is like I said, it's the death of all success in many regards. There's no way around it, and I would even go to the extreme and say if you're not feeling pain, then you're not going in the right direction.
So what if you're somebody who, let's say, already made a bunch of money? Let's say, I don't know, somebody who makes relative terms. Okay, let's say $100,000 a year, and they're not really monetarily focused or whatnot. So you could say that they're kind of comfortable. Do you think that would be a bad kind of comfort, or like still they should be uncomfortable somehow?
Well, it just depends. Like, I would say always open your horizon or your scope, because I feel like especially from a financial perspective, being a New Yorker, you always have to be willing to upgrade your income. But some people might say their $100,000 is like that's like you might have won the lottery, right? So it just depends on what your term of success is, what success means to you. And I like the way Earl Nightingale says it. He says success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So if you're progressively moving towards the fact that you're doing stuff every day, you have your passion, and you're making $100,000 a year to take care of your family, you vacation once a year, and you own 2 cars, and you're able to have savings for your funeral, then that's fine, I guess. But I would just say don't let it hinder the next generation. I'm never really worried about how you feel about success. I'm worried about who comes after you. Like if you're making $100,000 a year and your son says I want to make $1 million, don't let your comfort zone hinder his dream or his feelings or his emotions.
Yeah, that's pretty well said. Yeah, I think that's pretty well said. I mean, I asked that question, but honestly, I think it always depends on what the individual wants. You're right, because I mean, 100,000 is relative. $1 million is relative, right? You're right. So some people would consider that as a lot of money. Some people would consider that a little bit of money, but it always depends on what the person wants. So we're not talking just money in terms of being comfortable, but what it is that someone's looking to accomplish. That's really it. So if they're feeling like they should have more, then they should just really do something about it. Or if they're feeling like they're already well accomplished, then okay, they should enjoy that. But if they have any kind of notion that they should deserve more, or they expect to be earning more or having more in whatever kind of facet, whether it be for education or house or just a new kind of job, profession, then they should do something about it and become uncomfortable. I think that's where we're getting at.
Yeah. Hey Reactions, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at First Reaction Inc. and Twitter at First Reaction NY.